And we have, obviously private enterprise industry as well, where there's a number of existing clients and hopefully new clients that will, we've received a number of inquiries now, and I think PERMAcast has as well, and in what we're doing in this space, and when potentially products may be ready for market. So it'd be a very, very healthy news flow pipeline, in the coming quarter.
Today I'm joined by not one but two companies, starting with Aaron Banks, Executive Chairman of Suvo Strategic Materials, and then we have Darren Hedley, CEO of PERMAcast. Welcome both. A great starting point, we'll look at Suvo. Can you just give us a bit of an overview for some of our viewers that aren't so familiar?
Sure. So we floated 4 years ago on the Australian Stock Exchange, ostensibly on a kaolin and silica exploration assets, and shortly into our listing life, we got invited to bid on an operating asset in Victoria, a kaolin plant owned by a large French multinational company called Hydrous. We bought that, COVID hit, locked out for 2 years. Then the Iron Curtain came up. We returned to that asset. We returned it back to nameplate capacity on time and on budget in an inflationary and resource-constrained environment, which was a pretty good achievement. And now we move to filling out the latent ton capacity, the newly created latent ton capacity. We achieved 20% growth this year on last. And now we move into part of the strategy in looking at how we would fill that latent ton capacity was we have a traditional markets that we service currently. But we sat down and sort of thought, what can we do in the sort of emerging green markets? So we did some research on metakaolin. We found that it was a very good precursor for geopolymer, then started doing some studies with Murdoch University and running some trials, and found that it was a very, very good precursor. And now we've moved into a space focusing on both sides of the business now, but we're here with PERMAcast to discuss the geopolymer business, which we're pretty excited about.
Yeah, let's get into that. The big news, obviously, this week was the signing of a binding joint development agreement between the two companies. Can you just give us some background to that agreement, please? And, obviously what this means for the company and shareholders.
It means a great deal. The JDA sets out not only the framework and a roadmap to the commercialization strategy, but probably more importantly as well, the quality of partner that we've managed to attract in PERMAcast. Darren is not just here for his charisma. PERMAcast are a very well-known company. Their clients, would appear on their lists like Rio, BHP, Chevron. They've built projects, and supplied concrete for Optus Stadium, Gorgon, Apache, the state government. The list goes on. So I think when you're doing these types of things to try to commercialize, products or really anything, the strategy and the partnership, the partners that you team up with are, as important. There's lots of, as I've said before, there's lots of good ideas out there, and not, a lot of them don't get out of the blocks for those reasons I just mentioned. So we are thrilled to have attracted a quality, partner as PERMAcast are.
Excellent. And as Aaron just said, Darren, you're not just here for your charisma. So can you shine a bit of an insight into PERMAcast, the projects it's involved in? What does this opportunity mean for your company?
I'm not quite sure about the charisma. As I say, we've done projects of scale. The project that we're on at the moment is back-to-back over $100 million projects for Metronet, which is the extension of the rail lines for commuters. So right now we've got we're just actually wrapping up, having been on this for just a little under 2 years now. So big projects, and if you can imagine precast pieces of 30 meters, 220 tons, two other pieces which are 27 tons. So this opportunity is really part of my strategy, or our strategy now, is that it's really looking at geopolymers, looking at the sustainability piece. It's huge. It's permeating through every industry, particularly when you've got mining, particularly when you've got infrastructure. And it's the ability to use waste-derived products products that typically you wouldn't think could end up in concrete, and actually build that into the foundations of, say, a building, a bridge, or something similar. The exciting piece is that it's not only just large projects, it's also looking at it from a commodity product as well. And that would be something as simple as culverts under a road. It could be drainage, something similar like that, all the way up to wind tower footings, which is, obviously it's out into the distance at the moment, but that's certainly the exciting piece. So that's what it means to us. And it's great to, have this partnership, which we've managed to stand up in what I believe is fairly record time.
Excellent. Darren's given us some of background to PERMAcast there, but geopolymer to many is a fairly foreign concept. So can you just, for those unfamiliar viewers, explain the difference between geopolymer and standard concrete? What does it offer in terms of reduced CO2, etc.?
So concrete is made, the binder inside concrete, traditional concrete, the concrete you see out in the, in the footpath curbs in the products PERMAcast make. The binder, the glue that holds that all together, is Portland cement. Now, it's a wonder product that was designed back in the late 1900s. The problem with it, though, is that it's probably the largest single industrial polluter on the planet. If the Portland cement manufacturers were a country, they'd only be behind the China and US for total global emissions, right? So it's the equivalent of the global car fleet, about 8% plus or minus for the total carbon footprint. Geopolymer, the geopolymers that we make have zero Portland cement. So we make a binder. So as Darren mentioned before, they're waste-derived materials. So they're fly ashes, metakaolin that we use. We use an activator to activate. I won't go into the technical details. The amorphous aluminosilicate component of it, and we can make a binder from these waste materials. So when these waste materials are then combined with our activators, we can then make the binder, and then we could use C&D waste, construction demolition waste, and other fillers that then go out and packs out the rest of the space fillers, if you like, for the rest of the to make concrete. So our carbon footprint reduction versus a traditional concrete, with Portland cement, carbon footprint reduction would be probably around somewhere between up to 70-75% reduction from normal concrete with Portland cement. And then we'd be looking at tuning also, our formulations to see if we can get that carbon footprint reduction, even higher. So they're the main differentials.
Absolutely. Thank you for giving us a bit of a background to the companies there. So can we move on and look at the Kaolin project? It's 100% owned by Suvo. What's the latest there? What's happening?
Yeah, so the Trawala project that we're talking about as far as how it relates to geopolymer is a very unique resource that we have in Victoria. It's not currently in operation. We're not an operating mine at that on that particular deposit. We are in others. So we're pretty keen to open that up and do some test work with the as a precursor for our geopolymer. The reason why it's so unique is that it comes with a mineral included in the kaolin known as halloysite. So halloysite is a naturally occurring nanotube. There's evidence and some desktop work that's been done that suggests that those nanotubes help with mechanical strength properties, curing times, and a number of other favourable characteristics when you're talking about concrete. So that it averages between 20 and 30 and as high as up to 45% in some areas of that deposit. So yeah, we're pretty keen to start that work stream. And now that we're set up out at PERMAcast, we can bring some of that ore over and start making some formulations from it.
Excellent. I know Darren briefly touched upon it earlier, but can you give us some more insight into its applications for those unfamiliar viewers?
Yeah, kaolin, the traditional kaolin market that the operating plant produces, we service a number of different clients who make about sort of 13, 14 products. So our clients include, Dulux, Visy, Norsk, Boyer, Sellies, Bostik, Yates. So those end-use products are in paint, coatings, agricultural products, pharmaceuticals. So that's the traditional grey market side of the business. And then we've managed to use that kaolin and now the halloysite kaolin deposit that we're about to open up into the geopolymer side of things.
Excellent. Let's look at the board of directors that you have there. I know there's been some changes in the last few months. Can you talk us through these changes, what these new appointees mean for the team?
Yeah, sure. So there's been one significant change. That's Mark's been brought on. I've just been shuffled from a non-exec chair position to an exec chair position to build this geopolymer business, with PERMAcast. Mark Pensabene is a process engineer, mechanical engineer by trade. He's worked for Monadelphous, Primero. He's been helped to tow us into some of the large mining companies that he's had, contracts with over the years. He's built and been a part of building some of the processing plants for some of the largest, companies in the world. So he has some fairly good relationships into those companies. So we thought it was a time. Mark sort of approached us, suggested that, he could give us a hand in that respect. So he's a very, very good operator, a seasoned campaigner, and he's a welcome addition to the board.
Excellent. A lot of expertise on board then. Just to round things up, particularly for any investors watching this, can you summarise any milestones to be looking out for in the near-term future for Suvo?
Sure. As they relate to the geopolymer space, we're about to create the SPV, the entity that's going to carry out the works, and the shareholder agreement that's attached to it. Within that JDA, it spells out, as I said previously or earlier today, the roadmap. So what we're doing is making various strength concretes. So a 10 MPa strength concrete, 20, 30, 40 MPa strength concrete, then maximum attainable strength. So those different concrete strengths, I guess, PERMAcast will then retrofit the commoditized products that Darren mentioned into each one of those categories. So as we start to come up with those formulations, and then the various products as they roll off the production line, we'll be announcing those. The first project is a backing block, so retaining wall blocks. They are 1 meter by 300 by 300. They will be made this month and delivered prior to the end of, or about the end of this month, a number of them for a demonstration project on the state's largest road infrastructure project in the southwest of Western Australia. They have been chosen specifically for the government to descend upon once in place, to check a life cycle analysis on the suitability for infrastructure, health, environment. And then once those boxes are ticked, then hopefully it starts to appear on the government's tender lists as suitable products that are fit for purpose. And then each product that we then make, out at PERMAcast, those products then hopefully start migrating their way onto the list as well. So, and then that's state government, and then we have, obviously private enterprise industry as well, where there's a number of existing clients and hopefully new clients that will, we've received a number of inquiries now, and I think PERMAcast has as well, and in what we're doing in this space, and when potentially products may be ready for market. So there'd be a very, very healthy news flow pipeline, in the coming quarter.
So Darren, Aaron's just said there you've had a flurry of inquiries regarding the PERMAcast. Can you tell us a bit more about that? Give us a bit of details.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think ever since the first announcement, we've had, it must be over a dozen inquiries. And it ranges from everything from noise walls, which you would typically see up the size of a freeway, so on and so forth, to sleepers, the commodity products that I talked about before, but also how we can meet sustainability goals. So some large companies, certainly we're talking mining giants, but also main roads and so on and so forth, are asking what percentages we can actually reduce, what sort of additives we can put into concrete to lock away carbon and some waste products. And, one of the major clients that we actually deal with has set a 70% target for carbon reduction, certainly within their concrete. So that's a huge milestone. And of course, now that we're bringing the lab into, should we say, an industrial facility to actually create viable products, we can start moving through all of the different offerings that certainly Aaron's already gone into, and bring that to fruition. Because I think the biggest challenge is that you need a viable and tangible product in order to really get people excited, because it's no longer just a PowerPoint. So yes, lots and lots of interest ranging in various scales and products.
I got busy few months coming up for you both. Well, that draws us to the end of our interview here. Thank you so much for giving us an insight into two very interesting companies, and we hope to hear from you soon.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks. Appreciate it.